We go out to San Diego and welcome in the Met manager, Terry Collins. Terry, welcome. How are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Good, thank you. A win last night, a well-needed victory last night. Much-needed victory.
Much needed. Certainly, we needed to end the skid and get back on track. And saw some bright spots last night. Some good pitching and a couple of big hits.
You know, some of the themes the last couple of days have been that you and your staff saying, let's get these guys to finish strong. Let's get these guys to kind of finish on some of the things we've tried to, instill all year that still haven't come through strong. That's been the messages, huh?
Yeah, Mike, it's that time of year when, guys can start to, I don't know, maybe lose focus a little bit, and certainly that's not going to be acceptable here, and we've got to make sure that, we continue to get better and head in the right direction as we get towards the end of the season. A
lot of it is obviously looking towards, and I know it's tough because, you talked about the lineup you left camp with and, saw so little of that all year and then started to have the pieces pulled away in the Reyes thing, and just the idea of finishing, with some pride and having guys send a message about wanting to be here in the future. And that's key. I mean, here's a perfect example. You need Duda to play first base, but you'd really like to evaluate him at right field. Who wins, expediency or next year?
Well, Mike, as we go, I think we've got to certainly take a look at, the next year program. I don't want to I don't want to lose the focus of the big picture that, possibly Lucas Duda is going to be one of our options in the outfield, and I want to make sure he's comfortable when he gets out there.
Yeah, so you're going to give him some time in right field then, right?
I am going to, yes.
And it makes sense. I mean, that's where you think his future is, right?
With Ike Davis coming back and hopefully if Ike's healthy, that, Lucas is, we got to get that bat in that lineup, and that's going to be the opportunity.
Well, you saw that, you saw the power where it's starting to be almost like he's starting to expand his swing now, where he got his swing down and he felt comfortable, and now the power is starting to come, where he's starting to extend the swing and now start to hit those long home runs.
I agree. That's one of the things that we tried to get to, everybody to understand it. It's going to take a little while for this guy to get comfortable here, and he didn't want to just walk up here and start trying to hit balls out of the ballpark and striking out and, getting himself out by expanding the strike zone, and he did it the right way. And right now he's starting to get more aggressive at the plate. We're starting to see the power, and I'll tell you, there's a couple of teams that have already are pitching around him.
Well, we can see. I mean, he's a big man, and he and Ike. That's legitimate power with those two guys.
Yeah, they're big and strong. There's no doubt.
Yeah, that's a positive. There was an issue today about Reyes, and you talking about if he's here, coming up with a plan. Do you think you can come up with a plan that can allow you to kind of play around the schedule to the point where well-guided rest could maybe keep him from these injuries?
Well, I think we can do that, Mike, and it's certainly I don't have next year's schedule in front of me, but one of the things we've got to be able to do is do a better job of managing this guy's health. We've got to keep him on the field, and there's going to be times when he's maybe gets banged up by sliding or whatever it might be that he might miss a day or so, but we've got to avoid these 2 and 3 week lapses.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can. Can you ever, get him around hamstring pulls? Can you ever get to a point where you can somehow, play him and let him play with abandon, but then somehow ward off these hamstring pulls?
Well, what we're trying to do is gather enough information. Both injuries this year, Mike, came after day games that following night games.
Interesting. Okay.
And they were, the night games that were previous, was one like the night this time, he'd gotten 3 hits or 2 hits and stole 2 bases and was on a third or fourth time and didn't run, which a lot of us were surprised at. Come to find out, he was starting to feel a little bit of the tightness then, and never said anything. So, that's where we've got to head that stuff off. The first time it was a very similar situation. Obviously, he'd been on for who knows how many times in the 5 to 10 day span leading leading up to the first injury. So I just think that, hey, look, we've got to be aware of those certain times after those night games where he's, been so active on the bases in the field. It's got to be time for a blow.
There's this feeling here now, Terry, that every day out is costing him money. I don't know if he feels that way. I don't know if his brain trust feels that way. But, do you expect him to be very aggressive to try and come back here because of the idea that each game is somehow costing him money in the big picture next year?
Well, Mike, I don't think so. I know he wants to get back, and he is doing baseball activities. But, this guy, he knows the importance of his legs, and if he hurries back and re-injures them again, it's just going to be that much more severe. So I think that we're going to have some patience here. I'm sure he's quite aware that, of all the things that are being talked about, and I know he mentioned the fact that Carl Crawford pulled a hamstring too, but that was this year. Last year, he played stayed pretty healthy, and so we've got to make sure that Jose when he comes back, he's ready to finish out the season.